Hello, I'm Charlie Brady, and I am doing my project over the Junkyard Wonders. In doing so, we would be reading the book, The Junkyard Wonders, and incorporating it into our dyslexia plan. And for the first activity we will be doing is a silhouette activity for making inferences. I would read the first page to the students, then I would ask the question, how's the main character feeling about moving and going to a new school? We will then use the silhouette activity to use context clues to make an inference and answer the question. For the second strategy, I will read page 9 of the story. We will use the 5 steps to making an inference to answer the question, what were Thom and Gibby trying to do? We will go through each step of the process to make the inference that they were going to try to fight Barton Poole and his friends for calling them mean names. For comprehension monitoring, to monitor comprehension, I will use the think loud strategy. I will read until page 11. After reading page 11, I'll ask them a few questions to make sure they understand what's going on in the story. These questions will include, do I understand why other people make fun of kids in this class? What doesn't make sense? How do we find the answer to our question? And what do we think will happen next? After reading the last page in the story, I will ask the students, why did they name the plane Junkyard Wonder? Why were there tears in Mrs. Peterson's eyes when the plane flew into the sky? Next, we'll go over visualizing the text. To teach my students how to visualize, we will be doing the photographs of the mind activity. At 4 different points in the story, I will ask the students to draw on their own. This is why we're reading the story as a class. I will have them have their journal out and ask them to draw what they're visualizing in their mind that is going on in the story. The 4 points of the story will be on page 3 when Mrs. Peterson is giving the definition of genius. This is a good way for my kids to draw what their mind is telling them that they're seeing. On page 7, they will draw what they're visualizing when they're at Jody's house helping his mom bake a cake. And then on page 12, when the students are at the junkyard, I want to know what they're seeing. Like, are they actually visualizing a real life junkyard, or what they're seeing is happening? And last but not least, on page 17, when they're gathering flowers in honor of Jody. Next, we will go to summarizing. This is a good way for the kids to gather context clues to be able to tell me exactly what happened in the story in less words than were in the story. I need them to tell me the why, the how, the when, and who were involved. While reading the story, I will stop at page 7 and page 15 and have the students summarize what has happened. I will guide them through the story by asking them questions such as, who are the main characters? What were those characters doing? Did they run into any problems? And how did they solve those problems? After reading the story, they will do a summary on their own using the somebody wanted but so then handout to them to help them. They will identify the main characters, describe what they want, what the problem was, how they tried to solve that problem, and how the story ended. Then we will do 3 comprehension activities. The first comprehension activity I'll use is the KWHL chart. Before the story begins, I will give a brief description of the story and show the students the picture. In the first column, they will write down what they know. In the second column, they will write down what they want to know or questions they have. The third column is where they will explain how they will find the answer to their question. I will then read the story to them. After the story is read, they will write down what they learned from the story in the last column. For the second comprehension activity, they will be retelling the story in their own words. There will be 4 boxes on the page. They will have... my computer's not working right now. There we go. They will have the titles first, next, then, and last. The students will retell the story in their own words using the graphic organizer to help guide them. And then the last comprehension activity that we will go over, I will be using QAR questions. This will help me to know whether the student understood the meaning behind the text or just the facts about the story. The questions they will be asked are, their question is, why was the class called the junkyard? The think and search question is, how does the class feel when they find out that Jody passed away? The author and me question is, what is the author trying to teach us through this story? And then the on my own question is, have you ever lost a loved one and how did you feel afterwards? And for the closing, I really enjoyed learning about the different activities that you can use to teach these 4 elements. I know that in my past, whenever I was a younger kid, I had a great problem with comprehension. I couldn't comprehend anything, and I think it's just because I read so fast. So being able to teach comprehension to my students when I become in the classroom is going to be a huge part of it, because I want them to understand what they're reading and not just reading to read. I know that whenever I would come home from school, we would work through a comprehension notebook, and it was like this thick. And so that's something that if they need help with, I would love to get them, just so that they understand what they're reading, why they're reading it, what is going on in the story, and just to fully make sure that they're understanding exactly what they're reading. It's important to learn these 4 elements because they are crucial to being able to properly comprehend a text. Just because a student can do one of these doesn't mean they fully comprehend the text. But if they're able to do all 4, then they will understand the text and the meaning behind it.